Dorian Blake, a brilliant but eccentric book hunter and self-confessed bibliomaniac, heads the small firm Blake & Associates Literary Investigations in San Francisco. From their loft-style office on Clementina Street, Dorian and his teammates track missing manuscripts, authenticate dubious discoveries, and navigate a shadow world of collectors, auction sharks, and occult bibliophiles. Each case is a mystery whose solution hinges on deep book lore, forensic bibliography, and treacherous human motives. The Clockwork Folio, Epigraph, Venice, 1574. When parchment and brass conspire, time itself must take shorthand. Anselmo Venturi, Preface to Atlas Mechanica, suppressed 1581 edition. 1. Midnight at the Mezzanine. San Francisco's Palace of Fine Mechanics had closed at 1800 as usual, yet a faint metallic heartbeat still pulsed beneath its Beaux-Arts rotunda. At 23:57, that heartbeat coaxed Dorian Blake and Clara Havelock through a half-latched loading dock door, across a scentless wax stone foyer, and up a fire escape ladder that groaned like an old librarian clearing her throat. "Focus," Leo Salgado whispered through their bone conduction earpieces. "House network shows the exhibit computer in sleep mode. We're ghosts, 8 minutes max, before a motion check pings security." Even at a hushed trot, Dorian moved with a collector's reverence, letting his gloved fingers hover above mahogany balustrades and vitrines as though feeling for a pulse. Clara, by contrast, flowed ahead. Black leather jacket, hair in a tactical knot, tempered steel tension wrench already twirling between her knuckles like a street magician's coin. Lot 42 dominated the mezzanine landing. A knee-high plinth inside velvet ropes, atop it a bullet-glass vitrine bathing Atlas Mechanica in forensic light. The folio resembled a medieval atlas that had crossbred with a mantel clock. Rough calf boards the color of brewed tea, bronze corner guards chased with sea monsters, and, most outlandish, miniature pinions peeking through the inner gutter where sewn signatures should have been. "Gears in a Codex," Clara murmured, producing a steel dental mirror to inspect the spine. Venturi was part cartographer, part watchmaker, all show-off. Dorian knelt. "Look at the jewel bearings on the lock plate. Synthetic ruby. Somebody retrofitted those in the last decade. 16th century Italian clocks used river pebble pivots at best." He flicked on a thin-beam UV torch. Grease residue glowed cobalt around the filigreed keyhole. Leo's voice again. 7 minutes. Hall sensors wake if the HVAC cycles. And FYI, the security supervisor's playlist is playing Eye of the Tiger. If that ends, we lose our soundtrack camouflage. Clara grinned. "Copy that. Nice to know we can rock burglary to a motivational classic." She slid 2 titanium picks into the keyway, met resistance, and hissed. "Ah, warded discs, not tumblers. Keyed alike at opposite ends. Even asymmetry is symmetrical in clockmaker land." They had come to confirm a rumor that some unknown party had rewound the Atlas's escapement wheel so its famous self-turning demonstration, historically dormant except on leap year midnights, would occur tonight, 12th March. Dorian suspected corporate theatre. The palace had leased the hall to the Horologium Guild Revival Gala starting next day. But the evidence felt uglier. Clara's lock mirror caught a silhouette descending the marble stair, tall, silver hair, waistcoat woven with faint copper pinstripes that matched the gallery's accent lighting. Elias Gannon, Guildmaster Emeritus, walked as if each heel click were a metronome tick. "Mr. Blake," he said, in a voice neither loud nor soft, only precise. "According to my chronometer, you are 42 minutes early for our agreed verification." "Which makes us either thorough or paranoid," Blake replied, rising slowly. "We detected unauthorized manipulation." Gannon's eyes, pale as nickel filings, narrowed. "Impossible? The guild's master key is never more than 40 centimeters from my person. He patted his vest pocket, extracting a key shaped like a fleur-de-lis crossed with a clock hand. Clara angled her flashlight. Then how do you explain buffed brass around the crenellations, Looks handled by someone wearing nitrile gloves and no appreciation for patina. A footstep behind them. Dorian pivoted, tension rising, until the newcomer's silhouette resolved into Meera Patel, lab coat flapping like a cape. She hefted a portable Raman fluorometer and saluted with the antenna. "Traffic was murder," she said, "but I sampled lint from the vitrine seam. Cloth fibers match commercial microfiber brands, not museum-grade chamois. Somebody opened this puppy within 48 hours. 63, corrected Leo, already overlaying metadata in their smart lenses. I cross-checked vacuum log timestamps. Clara's eyebrow climbed. Our burglar is neat enough to wipe prints, yet sloppy enough to leave consumer microfibers. Maybe they wanted us to see the tampering. Dorian produced a still frame Leo had extracted from the palace's CCTV. A gloved hand, slender, manicured, inserted a translucent 3D printed key into the Atlas. Around the wrist fluttered a silk scarf patterned with dragonflies. Elias Gannon's posture stiffened as if his internal pendulum had stopped. Inspector Russo, he whispered. 2. Enter Inspector Russo. On cue, Valentina Russo strode onto the mezzanine, coat unbuttoned like a duelist announcing dawn. 2 uniformed guards flanked her, but kept their eyes down. Nobody liked being collateral in a Russo-Blake argument. Step away from the vitrine, she ordered, Interpol badge glinting. Her dragonfly scarf rustled, emerald on indigo. Dorian folded his arms. Valentina, are dragonflies a new division rank? Cuffable sarcasm, Blake. I'm here because Interpol traced missing World War II art deeds to Atlas Mechanica. The gala guest list reads like a who's who of high-net-worth restitution litigants. If the book ejects evidence tonight, I need the culprits in place. Clara drawled. And you think those culprits are us? I think, Russo said, that Blake attracts contraband the way lodestones attract iron filings. If the folio's about to spit out documents, I want his fingerprints pre-applied for convenience. Meera glanced at her multispectral watch. Midnight in 2 minutes. We can catfight or we can monitor a 16th century self-aware atlas. Gannon coughed, begrudging. Inspector, the mechanism is fragile. Allow my consultants to supervise. Russo's jaw flexed, but she waved Dorian forward. Touch anything without gloves, and I arrest you for cultural vandalism. Agreed? Strong incentive to remain fashionable in nitrile. Blake slipped on fresh gloves, electric blue, matching nothing, which annoyed Russo further. 3. The clock strikes. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. The mezzanine lights dimmed automatically per energy schedule, leaving only the vitrine's cold spotlight. Within that pool of fluorescence, Atlas Mechanica stirred. First, a soft ping, a music box note, the strike train priming its lifting cams. Then, a harmonic whir like dragonfly wings. The heavy front board rose 6 centimeters on telescoping brass pistons, revealing the gilt foredge stenciled with a continuous astronomical frieze. Zodiac constellations chasing seasons across 365 inked teeth. Pages turned themselves, each halted precisely 14 degrees before the next. Underglass glare flickered across copperplate engravings of the North Atlantic gyre, of Ottoman spice trade ebbs, of Tenochtitlan tribute routes, tile-patterned in gold leaf. Every page edge carried myco-cogs that meshed with an under-gutter rack, invisible until motion made them gleam. Security guards swallowed audibly. They'd seen the demo in training videos, but the live choreography produced a subconscious itch. Books should not move. The folio stopped on a blank parchment, almost goat-white against older buff pages. A hum emanated from below as the plinth's floor split, crank lifts unfolding like scissors. Up rose a miniature periscope with a brass tube the size of a roll of quarters. A crimson wax seal embossed with entwined W's glowed in the spotlight. Clara popped the vitrine lid with a suction cup. The museum alarm chirped, but Leo null-routed the feed. Dorian caught the tube and felt latent heat. Electronics, maybe. Mira swept her handheld ramen. Modern wax, 30% paraffin, trace icosane, 1950s at best. Russo's mouth thinned. Nazi-era plumbers used the Van der Vogel monogram. Looks like our document capsule. Or, Blake mused, Wilhelm Weiss, Venturi's 16th-century banker who disappeared after funding Atlas engravings. Twin W's long predate brown shirts. Semantics can wait, snapped Russo. Tube chain of custody begins now. Before she could bag it, Leo's feed lit crimson. Heads up. RFID ping from that capsule just phoned home. Registered asset of Klaus Heisen Vault Network, Lüneburg. Mira pursed her lips. German hardware baron with a fetish for private provenance theatres. Russo pocketed the tube, eyes harsh. Interpol has an open docket on Heisen for money laundering via research grants. You, Blake, are about to become my least favorite carry-on item to Hamburg. Gannon gripped the mezzanine railing. The Guild Revival Gala will collapse. Dorian adjusted his cuffs. History collapses into forgery if we don't follow. He extended his wrists as though to invite cuffs. Russo scoffed and merely waved guards to escort them. Polite, provisional detention. Clara whispered as they were marched out, midnight burglary with official police transport. Is that an upgrade? Consider it a reluctant limo service, Blake said, smiling faintly. 4. Sabotage goes global. 4.1 Transatlantic. Interpol requisitioned a red-eye on Lufthansa. Russo kept Dorian's group in business class quasi-custody. Laptops permitted, alcohol forbidden. Leo exploited the loophole by ordering endless espresso and writing code like a caffeinated octopus. Halfway over Greenland, he spun his seat. Pulled building schematics. Dock Zero is Heisen's private vault in a decommissioned World War II U-boat pen. Whole thing lined with Faraday mesh, except at roof vent where drones land supplies. Mira unfolded blueprint printouts. Climate chambers at plus or minus 18 degrees Celsius, 45% relative humidity, independent from the main grid. Heisen won't sweat an outage. Gannon dozed fitfully, pocket watch clenched. Every 15 minutes he awoke, jotted numbers in a leather notebook. Probabilities, Mira suspected. Across the aisle, Russo read court precedents on her tablet. Eventually, she asked Blake, sotto voce, why do you keep landing in my jurisdiction? Because bibliographic crime lands in your competence, he answered, and because you secretly enjoy rescuing me so you can arrest me later. She snorted, don't flatter yourself. I enjoy paperwork less than perp walks. 4.2 Hamburg layover. At Helmut Schmidt Airport, they were met by plainclothes BKA officers who whisked them through customs. Outside, March drizzle hung like iron filings before a magnet. Mira's first impression sensor registered nothing unusual until a faint ozone spike, taser residue, near the parking deck. She frowned but kept silent. 4.3 Confession at 20,000 feet. Back aboard a police helicopter southbound over the Elbe, Gannon tapped Blake's arm. There is a second key to the Atlas, he murmured, almost inaudible over rotor thrum. Clock B, Venturi designed redundancy. I lost it, or rather, it was stolen. Buenos Aires exhibit, 2015. The thief wore a dragonfly lapel pin. Dorian's heart sank. Annika Vogel. She freelances provenance hacks. That means Heisen has the duplicate key. Or Vogel plays both ends, Clara interjected via comms. Either way, we're dancing to her time signature. 5. The U-boat pen. Dock Zero from above resembled a concrete piano key jutting into the Elbe, wartime camouflage paint still ghosting its flanks. Inside, technology had replaced torpedoes. Robotic arms glided on magnetic rails, shuttling nitrogen-sealed frames containing Kandinskis, Klee watercolors, and a disturbing number of unsigned modern abstracts. Laundry currency canvases, Mira thought. Klaus Heisen welcomed them in a gallery mezzanine smelling of cedar phenol and money. His augmented reality spectacles projected data across his corneas. Tiny photovoltaic cells glittered along the frame. "Inspector Russo," he said, in a tone custom-calibrated between politeness and contempt. Always a horizon of bureaucracy between innovation and civilization. Russo grinned sharkishly. Civilization frowns on fencing stolen Botticellis. Heisen shrugged. Ownership is a continuum. I provide clarity. Blake displayed images of the wax tube. Clarify this. Heisen assessed, lips twitching. A fascinating object, but the real value lies not in tubes, but in frameworks. You should attend tomorrow's showcase there. He nodded toward a vacuum case on a pedestal labeled Private Mechanisms, its interior molded perfectly to cradle Atlas Mechanica. It was empty. Clara's hand hovered near her belt. Display case, sans display. That's like a Glock without a slide. Heisen's spectacles flared amber, scanning mode. The Atlas will arrive when the licensing clearinghouse approves chain of title. Everything in its time. Behind him, a wall monitor switched feeds. Sector C camera fuzzed, then black. A low siren growled. A mechanized voice. Luftfracht Drohne abhebend. Cargo drone launching. Heisen paled. Security error. Russo smashed glass protocol, ordering BKA agents to sector intercept. Clara had already sprinted. Dorian followed. 6. Gear train chase. Outside the pen's yawning submarine bay, wind tasted of salt and diesel. Overhead, a cargo drone, 8 rotors, LED collision halo, rose hauling a graphite-black crate the size of a wine barrel. Clara commandeered a dockworker's electric cargo trike, throttling to suicidal speed. "Passenger seat optional," she yelled. Dorian vaulted aboard. Leo, still inside, leveraged facility overrides. Drone autopilot, lock to transponder, GOSCARAB. Max cruise, 40 knots. I'm injecting flight spoof now. Dorian withdrew a grappling gun, carbon fiber spool, tungsten prongs, and fired into the crate's cargo net. The line went taut, yanking them like a kiteweight. Clara compensated, powering onto a maintenance ramp that ran parallel to the ascending drone. She shouted, "Plan? Improvise!" Blake climbed the rope hand over hand, drizzle cutting icy channels across his goggles. Atop the crate, he pried a panel and jammed in Leo's custom USB spike, flashes of debugging LEDs. The drone stuttered, motors desynced, then hover froze. Unfortunately, inertial sensors triggered emergency jettison. The crate unlatched and began a 30-meter plummet toward the Black River. Blake rehooked his harness to Clara's grapple line and kicked off, arcing clear as the crate hit water with a sound like a cathedral bell drowned. Floodlights washed the scene. Russo's Audi arrived, tires skidding. She shed coat and holster, but Elias Gannon had already sprinted pierside and dived, pocket watch still in hand, determination chiseled in every sinew. They hauled the crate onto a rescue pontoon. A laser-etched logo, Heisen Art Logistics, peeled away under Clara's multi-tool, revealing the Venturi fleur-de-lis. Inside, foam padding embraced the folio, plus a second brass tube, this one sealed by a black sun sigil, occult radiance etched in pitch. Heisen reached the pier flanked by guards, face lit by blue police strobes. "Return my property." Russo stepped between. "Your drone stole evidence. Chain of custody now belongs to The Hague." He clenched his augmented reality glasses. Augment displays flickered, risk calculations perhaps, then died. 7. Cracking the deed. Doc Zero's forensic bay resembled a startup incubator. White counters, anti-vibration tables, espresso station, if startups kept Faraday cages. Russo, gloved, placed Tube W and Tube Black Sun in a laminar flow hood. Mira oversaw decapping. Microsaws severed wax without heat to preserve molecular isotopes. Tube W yielded a silver gear-shaped disc, diameter 42 millimeters, etched with Renaissance motifs and modern micro-laser text. Property transfer. La Primavera. Sandro Botticelli. Mira glared at the dating. Titanium dioxide optical brightener inside substrate. Post 2000 forging. Tube Black Sun contained a miniature Geneva drive, the kind watchmakers use to limit mainspring torque, but engraved with a series of numbers in spiral. Under UV, the gear's teeth fluoresced letters forming a Latin hexameter. Regnum non erit, nisi redarmatur ab arte. No kingdom endures unless rearmed by art. Leo cross-referenced extremist archives. Motto of the 1938 American Silver Legion: Heisen's buyers are knee-deep in alt-art laundering. Gannon toyed with the cipher wheel. Venturi loved double meanings. Red Armator could also read "Retime Ed" in Italianate pun. He might have designed this wheel as a failsafe. Insert it and the folio jams, preventing further proofs emerging. Blake nodded. So our unknown saboteur planted Tube Black Sun to blow a whistle. Gannon exhaled, guilt spilling. That saboteur is me. 8. Gannon's confession. 10 years ago, Gannon had discovered that Guild archives listed Clock B in Buenos Aires. He traced it to a private show funded by Klaus Heisen. Unable to confront Heisen publicly, Gannon orchestrated a heist via Annika Vogel, steal Clock B and keep it from being misused. Vogel delivered, but during the handoff she dosed Gannon with atropine aerosol, blurred his memory, and vanished with a 3D print-capable scan of the key. Realizing Heisen would likely fabricate heritage claims, Gannon gambled. He manipulated the Atlas's escapement in San Francisco to trigger early, believing public spectacle would attract Interpol and expose the plot. He contacted Blake for authentication help, but kept the sabotage secret. Russo listened, stone-faced. You weaponized a World Heritage object for whistleblowing. That's felony vandalism. I will surrender myself once Heisen is stripped of the deed, Gannon said, unflinching. Blake placed a hand on the old horologist's shoulder. Then we'd better finish what you started. 9. Clockwork Courtroom. 9.1. The Hague, 2 days later. The Permanent Court of Arbitration allotted an emergency hearing. Delegations from Italy, claiming La Primavera, Germany, arguing jurisdiction, and the Coalition for Art Restitution crowded mahogany benches. Media drones hovered like hornets until ushers zapped them. Whisper quiet. Russo presented her forensic chain. Paraffin profile of Tube W wax. RFID logs showing Heisen-registered tracking. Drone telemetry linking Doc Zero flight plan. A slideshow displayed Mira's molecular spectra and Clara's microphotographs of gear scarring, distinctive tool marks matching Clock B's bite. Blake testified on codicological anomalies. Venturi's original sewing stations were 3. Current structure shows 5, meaning Folio was unbound and retrofitted post-1970. All mechanical page edge drive wheels are silicon bronze, unknown in 16th century metallurgy. Gannon explained timing train signatures demonstrating modern motor substitution. Clara capped the performance by live-picking a dummy replica of the Atlas lock, showing that a duplicate key left burr trails inside wards, identical to those on the real book, impossible if Heisen possessed authentic soul key. Finally, Leo took the stand, projecting darknet chat logs where Annika Vogel, under alias Libellula, negotiated forging museum-grade wax seals, emphasis German provenance. Judges recessed for 2 hours, then returned unanimous. Heisen's documentation invalid, assets frozen for restitution mediation. The court commended Gannon's courage, though advised local prosecutors to consider proportional leniency. Heisen's AR glasses lay on council table, lenses cracked. He rose only to straighten his tie, then allowed officers to escort him, a man calculating contingencies in silence. Rousseau, outside chambers, shook Blake's hand. For once, you ended up on my commendation list. Blake smiled. Does that come with airline miles? Just a standing seat in an interrogation room. 9,2. Fallout. Interpol cyber teams raided Silver Legion Revival Bitcoin wallets, seizing €220 million. Italian Carabinieri located a cargo container in Trieste. Inside, La Primavera, miraculously climate-controlled. Restoration experts wept. Journalists mentored new grads on spelling Botticelli. Gannon pleaded to misdemeanor negligence, sentenced to 200 hours educational outreach, teaching underfunded museums mechanical conservation. 10, midnight, 1 week later. Back in Blake and Associates' loft, an ex-printing warehouse smelling of linseed and ozone, Dorian hosted a modest victory wake, masala chai, Mira's recipe, vegan empanadas, Leo's new obsession, single-origin mezcal, Clara's insistence. Outside, North Beach fog draped Coit Tower like a ghost's bedsheet. Elias Gannon arrived carrying Atlas Mechanica inside an archival phase box stamped property of UC Berkeley Bancroft Library, custodial loan. Probate had placed it under academic stewardship pending final restoration. At 23:58, Gannon laid the Atlas on a teak work table. Venturi may yet surprise us, he said. Clara dimmed studio lamps. Only a desk LED remained. The whole group leaned forward, half expecting fireworks. 00000000. Soft ping, the smell of brass warming in motion. Yet instead of pages turning, the folio's spine slid sideways 5 millimeters, revealing a slit. From that slit, a woven gold ribbon emerged, tugged by unseen springs. Its terminus, a tiny vellum folio, quarto format, ventriculus-sized for secrecy. Mira's pulse leapt. She eased the packet free. Inside, Venturi's epilogue, 37 leaves, italic chancery hand. First page read, "To any future custodian. Knowledge is a clock whose hands may lie, yet gears speak truth. Oil them with doubt, wind them with curiosity, and guard them from certainty." The epilogue mapped hidden gearing pathways, showing how tubes could be swapped, pages rerouted, even the blank parchment converted to a solar compass. It also included marginalia, sketches of sea lions alongside Latin puns, as if Venturi anticipated boredom centuries ahead. Leo laughed softly. Metadata about metadata. A nested doll of knowing. Dorian grew thoughtful. Venturi wasn't just preserving maps, he was modeling skepticism. Clara raised her mezcal glass. To librarians who dare rewind time. They toasted. A gust rattled window panes. Foghorns moaned. Across the Pacific, Narita Airport departure boards flipped. Annika Vogel, wearing a raven brooch, sipped matcha while texting coordinates to an encrypted contact labeled VC. Her boarding pass read ANA 202-Tokyo to Lisbon. Somewhere in Portugal, a man named Vespasian Crow, ex-auctioneer, current outlaw, checked his pocket watch, gears ticking like distant thunder. The Clockwork Folio had been saved, but the Codex Chronicles were only beginning to turn.